This video recaps the process that I went through to recover a 2013 Ford Focus SE from a flood. This car was flooded up approximately halfway up the steering column, so into the radio area. The engine was submerged. Most of the interior modules were underwater. BCM, airbag module, ECM, TCM. It was pretty rough. So I've documented here through a few videos and a lot of pictures what it took for me to get this car back on the road, and I'll show you some of that right now. This is where the diagnosis begins. The car won't crank because it doesn't detect the key. Clearly there's a problem with the security system. I attempt to connect the scanner to the car to see if there's any codes or any messages of why the vehicle is disabled, and I can't get the scanner to connect to the car. I investigate that issue. I found add-on GPS modules. I believe this probably means the car was a rental prior to the current ownership. I had to remove all of those modules before the DLC connector would allow the scan tool to communicate with the onboard modules. Realizing the car is worse than it was originally explained to me, I begin to worry that it may be a complete mechanical loss, so I decide at this point to get the engine rolled over just to see if it's seized or if it will possibly recover. So I pull the spark plugs, clean the intake manifold out, clean the cylinders out, change the oil, lube the cylinders down with WD-40, and jump the starter solenoid. After replacing and reprogramming the body control module and relearning all of the wireless security keys, the car would now start and stay running, but when you pulled it in drive, it wouldn't actuate any of the dual clutch actuation motors. So I removed them from the car, tried to actuate them manually, and I could tell that they were seized up. So the next step was to pull the dual clutch transmission out of the car and inspect the damage. After replacing every component that lives inside the bell housing with brand new parts, it was time to load the transmission back into the car. Once I got the car back down on the ground and running, I was able to get it in drive and it would move. I was able to do the clutch point learn procedure and take the car on a test drive, but as you can see in these pictures, I ended up learning that the TCM had water intrusion and had some corroded pins on it. So after a short test drive, it would throw TCM errors, the transmission would quit shifting, and eventually we had to replace the TCM as well. Once the repair was complete, we had replaced and reprogrammed the body control module, the restraint control module, and the transmission control module. The only major module that survived was the engine control module. On top of this, we had to physically repair or replace the starter and every component inside the bell housing.